I am Gisli Gudjonsson. I'm an emeritus professor at King's College London, and I'm an honorary consultant clinical psychologist at Broadmoor Hospital. My background as a clinical psychologist is that I trained in clinical psychology. Then I worked for 2 years doing general clinical psychology. Then I moved to the Institute of Psychiatry in 1980 and practiced clinical psychology, but then became a forensic psychologist because when I moved to the Institute, I had applied for a forensic position. So I later on became registered as a forensic psychologist as well as a clinical psychologist. And I practiced clinical and forensic psychology at the Maudsley and the Bethlehem Royal Hospitals for 32 years. I was the head of clinical forensic psychology, and in recent years, before I retired, I managed a department of clinical psychologists working in the South London and Maudsley Trust. So my area in clinical has been with people with mental disorders, people who have offended, and also with victims of crimes. As far as forensic psychology is concerned, I have treated and assessed a large number of people who have offended, both in terms of risk and in terms of their offending behaviour and clinical problems, and then provided treatment for those conditions. I've contributed to clinical and forensic psychology. First of all, that my ambition early on was to actually develop forensic psychology. So I believe that I've actually managed to develop and extend forensic psychology, and I've developed numerous instruments that now are being used clinically and forensically. I have been awarded, given 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, one by the British Psychological Society and one by the European Association of Psychology and Law. And in 2011, I was awarded the title of a Commander of the British Empire for my work and contribution to clinical psychology. So my contribution has been in terms of application, providing assessment, providing treatment, enhancing teaching and training students. And I think that is the contribution that I made. When I reflect back on my contribution as a clinical and a forensic psychologist, I would say that being a clinical psychologist was an important step towards becoming a forensic psychologist. I trained in clinical psychology and then became a forensic psychologist 2 years later when I had a job offered to me at the Institute of Psychiatry, and I later became a registered clinical and a registered forensic psychologist. It's important to emphasize the need to combine clinical experience with forensic experience. So my strength is actually being able to combine the two, my clinical experience with forensic experience, and provide a service in unique circumstances.